So welcome everybody to our fourth event on Speak Up, Speak Out. Thank you all for making the time to come and spend some time with us. Today we have a special treat, particularly for people who are looking for Black talent. I know that it's been topical, and I also know that it's been topical that there isn't much Black talent out there. But today we're going to prove that that's a myth, and there's many organizations that have assembled networks of Black professionals who you can all try and get access to. So the hope is that you'll learn from some of these firms. It will inspire you to either connect with them or learn about some of the other firms that are out there. So we've got some really some people that I've met over the last couple of years, within the last couple of years, that for me I think their stories, their reasons for their journey and what they're doing are all really inspirational, and there's some really spectacular people to share their story. So what we're going to do today is we're going to just quickly I'm going to quickly introduce the four people and the companies they represent. Each person will get like 5 minutes really to just talk about kind of their story, their organization, what they're trying to achieve, and then we'll open up for some Q&A. So hopefully we'll get you back to work real quick. First we have Elaine Norman from ITSMF. ITSMF is an organization that stands for IT Senior Management Forum. It was started just over 20 years ago, where there was acknowledgement that there's not enough Black C-level people in the technology space, and someone started the journey to really kind of help create a mentoring and network scheme to support the rise of Black tech people. The other group we have on today is we have Niyusha Roshani from Global Black Youth. Niyusha and some of her colleagues started this journey of trying to help support and mentor entrepreneurs, particularly Black entrepreneurs. What's really great about Niyusha's story is that she's got a big presence and background in Africa, but this movement is very global, and there's big presence in Brazil, the UK, and the US as well. So it truly does represent all of the different continents. Then we have Matthew Douglas, who represents the Black Professional Technology Network in Canada. He has a huge following in terms of his network. He recently just hosted a symposium where there was, let him talk about it, but there's thousands of participants, and his membership has grown to 20,000 people, and up 100% just this year. And then finally, we have Dina, who represents iUrban Teen. And Dina's story is also very special and different. But where Dina's different is that she's actually working with the children, our youth, particularly on the urban side, and all in the preparation of getting them ready for corporate organizations. And the idea of you helping her to create and prepare your future employees on the outset. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Elaine first to talk a little bit about ITSMF.
All right, thanks so much, Steve. First of all, I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation to share and to hear from your audience and the other panelists. As you mentioned, ITSMF, it stands for the IT Senior Management Forum. And you're right, the organization was created, actually we're coming up on our 25th year anniversary in 2021, by a few executives who, number one, found out that they, were kind of alone in their own respective organizations, but took the extra step to do something about it. And that was to start an organization to network with other Black executive leaders and to launch an organization that would be about mentoring. And so today we have about 600 plus members across the United States, and several of our members who happen to be overseas. And we provide programs and services to develop Black leaders. We are representing the director level or higher in their respective organizations. And it's very purposeful that we're at that particular demographic in terms of our membership, with our official mission being to increase the representation of Black professionals in leadership levels in technology. And to do that and to move aggressively on our mission, we focus on the director level or higher. We embrace and we partner with other organizations who are at various levels in the corporate spectrum, because we want a healthy pipeline in, and even supporting our members as they move on to other careers, other move to board positions, et cetera. So it's a continuum of providing leadership. So we call ourselves the, not only does ITSMF stand for the IT Senior Management Forum, but we say it stands for It's My Family, because we do indeed become an extended family to our members. And I'll pause there, Steve, to give my colleagues a chance to say something.
Sounds good. So I know I have a couple of questions to tease out later, but I'll let the audience go first.
Okay.
Next off, we have Niusha. I always get told off for not pronouncing the name right, so be warned that I'm about to get rinsed. Go on, Niusha.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, no, you said it right finally. Anyways, thank you, and glad to be part of this conversation today. I think it's extremely important, especially in this day and age. So we are Global Black Youth, or GBY. We are about convening and amplifying the work of young people of African descent on a global scale who harness technology, innovation, entrepreneurship to really disrupt the dominant narratives of Black youth, but also to outsmart the status quo and come up with valuable solutions and knowledge to our most pressing global issues and concerns. So our vision is to establish a really global community of these young Black disruptors and amplify or establish the pipeline to opportunities, capital, and investment, as we see them as underinvested. We see Black youth as an untapped source of under-the-table knowledge and solutions, and we want to basically make sure that we don't see them as, invisible talents, or I would say more invisible opportunities, right? So this is what Global Black Youth does, and but I'm not going to go more into details, but we have an upcoming event, and I'm sure that we'll discuss that more with Steve. So glad to be here and joining other fantastic people who are doing similar work. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Did Matthew make it on? Just checking.
I'm here, Steve.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Over to you.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me. I'll take that as my cue to go, Steve.
Yeah.
All right, so nice to meet everyone today. Thank you so much for inviting me, Steve and Neil. It's great to be connecting with you all, and excited to share a little bit about what we're doing at BPTN. I think I like to really simplify things, really simplify it to the extreme so that people just kind of understand what your goals are, what your targets are, what you're working towards. And I was part of a session relatively recently, and somebody had asked if you can summarize what BPTN is about in one word, what would it be? And I reflected on that for a little bit and thought about all the different engagements that we have and partnerships that we're working on. And it really comes down to community, right? And I then looked up a few different definitions of community, and I found one that really resonated with myself, and I think can really be applicable to everything that we do. And the definition that I found was a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. And I think that's probably something that everybody on this call can relate to today. I think it's something that everyone in our membership of 20,000 people today can relate to. We all recognize, the challenges that the Black community is facing. We at BPTN are kind of focused on supporting the Black tech community. And that's from a number of different perspectives, either people that are very technical in nature working for a non-tech company, maybe a retail company, a bank or whatever, or non-tech professionals that are working for the Googles of the world, LinkedIn, Salesforce, Microsoft, et cetera. So we cover a very broad spectrum, but I think everybody still has similar attitudes, similar goals, interests, not that they're working towards. And we've really strived to grow the organization to be able to tap into a number of different networks, right? And there's a lot of opportunities for us to help people accelerate their careers as individuals through knowledge development, mentorship, sponsorship, career development programs, and all that sort of stuff that really helps the individual. But at the same time, there's an equal and mutual interest from companies that now want to engage with these talented and qualified folks. And it's not about going out to recruit for diversity, but it's about naturally and organically having diversity built into your networks. So all you have to do is reach out to grab somebody from your network and say, I know somebody that might be interested in a position, or I know somebody that might be interested in building a relationship with you. And just naturally that diversity already exists and they're connected and engaged with the community. So that's kind of our main thing at BPTN, is helping companies and individuals. We have a number of different platforms to grow these networks, to allow companies to be seen as thought leaders and really develop their presence and awareness in the community and connect with the Black tech community. So that's my little introduction, and I'm sure we'll get to chat a little bit more over the next hour. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. And then we've got Dina.
Now, do you know how to pronounce my last name?
That's why I didn't.
I know. It's Piero. Just think of a pier and a rowboat. The T's are silent. Piero.
Piero.
Yeah, I knew that's what you were having
Poirot.
to struggle with. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna ask him. So I am so excited to be here and share what I do. And you know, iUrban Teen is just one of my organizations, but it's my heart work and it's my passion work. I'm what's called a serial social impact entrepreneur. So besides iUrban Teen, I have my diversity consulting recruiting company for those companies who say they can't find Black talent, right? I've had that for years. I also am one of the founding members for Black Women in STEM 2.0 and International Black Women's Collaborative. So, but I tell people everything that I do is centered around equity and diversity, everything, every one of these organizations. And with iUrban Teen, you know, I launched the program back in 2011 here in the Pacific Northwest. And since its launch, we're now in 4 states and hoping to launch in a 5th in New York and also in London post-COVID. We've served over 8,000 youth and have about an 86% retention rate because we're family focused. Like Matthew was saying, that community, right? We have this ecosystem of family. You honor the family by inviting them in. So we have an intentional reach to Black male youth and other male youth of color. And I say intentional, but we're inclusive. So probably 50% of our student population now are girls. We work with youth with disabilities and also low opportunity white youth. Everything that we do is free. So we don't turn away any child, but it's quite clear when you go to our events who our target demographics, what our target demographics are. The other thing that with iUrban Teen, we work with youth ages 12 to 18 and we expose them to all of the opportunities, right? We share with them, this is what a STEM career looks like. You know, we give them hands-on opportunities to really see if that's an area that they want to go into, right? And like I tell all of them at the beginning of our events, you know, I'm sharing this with you. You may not be interested in any of it, if at least now you know what it is. And that's equally as important as them not knowing, right? So I also am honored to be one of President Obama's White House Champions of Change back in 2011 for technology inclusion for this program, and was invited back 3 more times because he has an initiative called My Brother's Keeper that was kind of based on iUrban Teen. So that was such an honor. I thought I'm gonna take that to my grave with me. But I'm excited now because of the exposure that we have gotten over this past year with companies, partners that are really distinctively wanting to help create these pathways for these youth. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So staying with you, Dina, I'm really excited. So City, we've had about 3 or 4 sessions with City Group, and we're hoping, and I'm hoping that we can form part of the partnership to help you set up in Harlem. And for anyone that's operating in the New York space, it won't just be Harlem, but that's probably going to be our starting point, at least in terms of setting up a partnership with a local church next door to the church, where you'll set up your shop. So why don't you talk a little bit about your shop? And then even to the point that, 2 Saturdays ago, I was a speaker, or 2 or 3 Saturdays ago, I was a speaker. Actually, it was Halloween, right? I was a speaker at one of Dina's, STEM-Halloween. And I actually got taught how to do AR coding in an hour in one of the breakout sessions. So I'm officially now not just a fake techie, but I can actually develop now on AR code. So it's really cool what you do with the kids. But why don't you tell everyone a little bit more about what you're trying to do next, and a bit more detail, and how people can help?
Yeah, well, you know what, Stephen, I just want to also comment on the fact that, again, our intentional reach are male youth of color. And I usually do that because the more we focus, and this is just my opinion, but the more we focus on girls and on this and the other, our male youth, our Black male youth are continuing to fall through the cracks, right? And so just for you being on that session, and our students that were on there, they were just in awe of you. Remember, they kept asking things in the chat room, right? They're looking up.
Let's keep it real. They were asking if I'm rich and what kind of whips I've got. So I did actually show them. But again, that's the kind of stuff that inspires our young youth, right? So
it does.
So Harlem, what are you trying to do in Harlem?
Well, in Harlem, there's a church there that reached out because, well, actually, we had a mutual contact that connected us with the pastor there. And as soon as I started talking about iUrban Teen, he wanted it. He wanted it to be housed there at the church. And there's a housing project right next door that he wanted to focus on, with them working with us. Now, working with us, meaning exposing them to the different opportunities, because we are more than just a coding program. We're the full STEM plus arts. We have a music and math program where the kids create digital music while learning the math behind the beat, right? We have advanced manufacturing, supply chain. We have environmental sciences. So we have a full gamut of things that youth are interested in. So, but what happened was CUNY in New York reached out and wanted us to be based at their Staten Island campus, which is a good partnership for us because we partner with colleges and universities, and then have the satellite offices in Harlem, Brooklyn, and Queens. So that's what the layout looks like right now. Right now, we have to, next steps are creating those executive councils in New York that will help sustain the program. Now, one of the things I want to also mention that I think is quite important is being a Black female founder of anything is extremely difficult. It's been almost 10 years with this program. And when I was honored in the White House back in 2013, they asked us, it was 7 of us, at the end of the day, what are some of our challenges? And I said, well, my challenge is funding. I'm a woman of color with a program that's making an impact in the community, but I'm not funded. I could be a white girl selling cat booties and I'll be funded hand over foot. There's a lot of salaries being made off the backs of Black and brown youth in this country. I know, I have no filters, y'all. I'm sorry. Okay, this was in the White House with a room full of white folks. I said, there is a lot of salaries being made off the backs of Black and brown youth in this country by dominant culture groups who are not making the impact. They just call our kids at risk. Only thing I call our kids are brilliant. I never label them at risk. And so that was back in 2013. But I told them, funding or no funding, we're going to keep doing what we do because our families are used to people coming in with a one-time fix and they're gone. We're here for the long haul. I can pull a rabbit out of my hat like nobody can. And Stephen, I was pulling hats for 9 years. We just started getting funding this past summer, 8,000 some kids later, right? That's dedication. And that means that we have this, we are going to keep building this yellow brick road for these families, as long as I'm alive and can breathe, So anyway, I think you can hear the passion for this program. I know Stephen did, because I just like looped him in, But this is the intentionality that we have to have in our communities to move this dial forward, right? This is an important time in our history in the United States because of George Floyd. We're going through an era right now that's like the civil rights movement. So I tell the companies that I work with on my diversity side, you have a perfect opportunity now to reboot and rebuild. I don't care what you did last year, year before, but right now is your opportunity to rebuild and decenter whiteness in all of your practices, So anyway, I'm done. I said I wasn't going to talk. I'll just talk and take all kind of airtime until Steve just boots me off the.
So just moving over to Matthew. So Matthew, when I met Matthew, which was probably about 5 months ago, we were exploring jumping on his symposium, how can we get access to talent, and we're looking at various different venues. So we joined the BPTN event, which was last month. I'm going to let Matthew talk a little bit about that, and but what's been quite impressive in catching up with him just recently, his network has grown from 10,000 to 20,000. So I'm going to let him talk about how big his ambitions are for the growth of the network, and a little bit about his last event and the next event coming up.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. So yeah, when we first started chatting, that was a few months back, and we were quickly approaching 10,000 then. We're based out of Toronto, Canada, and we started our growth close to 3 years ago. I think we hosted our first event not too long after that. But last year and this year, things have really taken off, and this much even more so from a membership perspective and from a partner perspective. I think we've got close to 60 some odd corporate partnerships now with a lot of large organizations. Most of the big banks in Canada, we're partnered with LinkedIn, we're partnered with Salesforce, we're partnered with SAP, we're partnered with Uber, like tech companies and non-tech companies, right? And the momentum right now is just incredible. As Steve mentioned, we just wrapped up our annual Global Be Future Summit. So it's the largest summit of its kind, I'll say in the world, definitely in North America, where we had 10,000 Black tech professionals attending the summit over 2 days. At the summit, we had 3 different stages. There was a main stage, side stage, VIP stage with different keynote presentations, moderated panel discussions. We had networking chat rooms going on with about 20 different themes of different types of chat rooms where you can engage with people, obviously all done virtually this year. And 3 different exhibition halls where our sponsors had recruiting booths set up, right? One stat that just really stuck in my head was, on average, over the 2 days, every booth had 500 visitors per hour, okay? And these are just Black tech professionals. 52% of the attendees were Black women, right? So the ability for us to scale and connect that many folks with leading tech companies, right? We're not talking about little startups of 10 or 15 people that are just interested in joining a community, but these are some of the largest companies in North America that want to partner with us, want to engage with the community. And we have our events such as our Global Summit, and we have master classes, which are more frequent, I'll say, kind of 90-minute webinars that our corporate sponsors will sponsor these events, and we attract on average 500 to 1,000 people to each master class, where there's an opportunity for executive leaders, thought leaders to kind of connect and give back to the audience, as well as take part of a speakers panel discussion after. So people are attending just to hear about industry trends, what leaders are working on, the initiatives, how companies are evolving in this new era as well, right? But in addition to that, we have a number of other services that we do with companies to help them broaden and diversify their networks, to connect them with the Black tech community and build out a pipeline of diverse talent, right? That is what we call our talent and network developing arm. But then we have a talent, brand, and thought leadership piece, which goes back to the summit and the master classes. But in parallel, we have an internal component around advisory services and education. making sure that we're taking this holistic approach, that we're not just going to allow companies to tap into the network and offer jobs to folks if they're not ready to receive them on the back end, right? And enable and encourage them to be their best selves in the workplace and walk into an environment where they don't have to worry about stereotypes, microaggressions, judgment, and all this sort of thing. So it's a very holistic approach that we take. We've grown to 20,000 members. We've doubled in size probably in the last 3 or 4 months. And our goal for end of next year is to be at 150,000 members across North America. And we're very much on track to achieve that. My team internally has doubled since I've joined. We've been building out our organization ready to scale and support not only our members, but our corporate partners and our teams internally, right? So it's such an exciting time where I think we have the world's attention, right? People are willing to listen, just like you were saying, Dina. This is a time to reboot, reset, change your way of thinking, and really start to alter some of these companies we're talking to are, 25, 30, 40 years old. And it's like, I don't think there's anybody you can have a conversation with today that will say, no, we've got a great handle on everything that we're doing. We've been doing it for the last few decades and we're going to continue doing it that way. Like, there's always areas for improvement, for change, for promotion of new initiatives, and adapting that culture, I think, to what 2020 is demanding for right now, right? So yeah, just very exciting times. And I think the sky's the limit for us going forward right now. And we have very aggressive growth plans, but I won't say they're stretch goals because I've seen some of them and they've been knocked out of the park already. And 2021 is just going to be another very exciting year.
Pretty cool. So, Neusha, we're working on some really cool ideas. The one that I like the most right now is this concept of helping you to find help us to find talent via a fund, potentially, where we kind of seed you with the money to actually find Black talent, entrepreneurs, and particularly in the African region, which is really exciting for me and something that getting back to the African continent is something that's really dear to my heart right now. But also we've got the symposium that we're working with you on that's coming up soon, and love you to talk about last year's symposium, which will be quite different to this virtual one, and what's coming up next.
Thank you, Steve. So just as Matthew was speaking, and I was thinking, wow, how much we've grown in a year. But also just to reiterate, because I hear these fantastic initiatives, happening in Canada, happening in the US. Steve, you've led a lot of, highlighted a lot of what was happening also in the UK. But what we realize, and then what sets us different from other initiatives, I'm not saying different and better, but it's just that as we see, for example, these different silos, for example, organization working in different sectoral silos, but also regional silos, we realize there's a need to really connect, right? So strengthen the work locally by connecting globally. And because I have a global background, so does my co-founder, we realized there's a need to really connect, for example, what's happening in Kenya, what was happening in Brazil, in Colombia, especially strengthening that South-South collaboration and not just a bilateral, say, Latin America, US, and Africa, Europe. And really thinking about what's happening, for example, in New Zealand and Australia, and really thinking globally as we approach, for example, not the end, but towards the end of the decade for people of African descent, right? And how is it that we can really think about a majority rather than a minority when we speak of young people of African descent in the diaspora? So this is one of our mission is really to connect these young Black disruptors on a global scale. So one of the ways that we're doing this, and we started to do this because we also grew tired of different sectors, for example, from academia saying that they don't know where to source Black, brilliant minds, to the private sector. And it was so ridiculous to us because we kept on seeing them. But then we thought, okay, how's that we can start doing this? So while I was at Harvard last year, we organized the first Black youth-led technology symposium. And it was very new to people because usually it's very centered around the US. We're able to bring in over 150 youth from 50 different countries around the world to discuss not just ethics, issues around ethics and challenges, but opportunities. Like, how is it that somebody, for example, from the DRC, which is the Democratic Republic of the Congo, can really bring an innovative solutions to the drought issue in California? So we can reverse the way we're looking at a global north, global south, for example, bringing and adapting the solutions to the south. But how is it that Africa, for example, can be a solution, can provide the solutions to the rest of the world? And it can, right? So how is it that we're missing out on opportunities and the most cutting edge solutions and technology to address our global concerns? So it was a very diverse cohort of speakers, of entrepreneurs, of innovators that came together and really discussed this. And it was the first time that, you know, an institution like Harvard said, wow, there are all these brilliant minds, you know? So anyway, so that was one of the ways, and then really connecting, you know, the power that comes from connecting these young innovators to each other, because they never realized that somebody from, you know, Sudan can connect with somebody who is doing very similar work to somebody in Brazil. And that was very powerful. So from there, I remember when we just started, and Global Black Youth is quite young as an institution, but the work comes from, you know, from decades of working in different parts of the world. So that's not so young. And obviously we've gone, you know, growing our network, but we have about 15,000 in our membership. And then this is the formal membership. Obviously we have an informal membership as well, you know, ranging from the Pacific to Latin America, to the African continent, to Europe. And we're growing, right, as we speak. So over a year, because it was exactly a year where we held our first event, we grew 15 times. So that's pretty impressive. But as we realized that there's just so much more to grow, right? And there's so many more areas to cover. And as we grow in partnership as well. So this is, and one of the ways that we can bring visibility to the different work that young people are doing is really convening them in the same space. But as we want to really reach, you know, sustainable solutions, we have to be able to engage with the different sectors of society, not just like private sector or academia, like really bringing together public, private, third sector and academia together, and really highlighting and widening that pipeline to these young Black talents, right? And then we see opportunity as a two-way street, an opportunity for these sectors as an opportunity for young Black talents. So we decided, despite the pandemic, because it was disrupted, we were supposed to have an in-person convening in Accra this year, but with Beyond the Return Initiative, which is postponed to next year. So we decided that we need to really highlight the work that they were doing, despite all the challenges of the pandemic, despite everything, and highlight them in a virtual event, which also allows for a greater number of young people to participate. So we'll have, on December 11 and 12, we'll convene about over 1,000 young people in these events. And I think it's going to go up, especially as Brazil just announced that, you know, we'll have at least 10,000 people just from Brazil. So we'll see how we're going to manage this. But we're going to have, you know, different sessions, but really looking at the nexus of technology, innovation, entrepreneurship. And we see them as cross-sectoral, right? So you can be innovative in politics, as you can be entrepreneurial, you know, in the arts and literature. But we'll also have a demo day where we'll be able to connect, you know, young founders to capital, coaching, community investment, and really kind of disrupting, you know, the underinvestment, the issue around underinvestment. So Steve and I started to discuss a while ago when I met him in New York, and we became really passionate about the work that we do. And as Dina said, this is not just a job. I mean, one has to be crazy to lead this kind of initiative because it's not easy. Not just as both my co-founder and I are two women of color, so women and also of color trying to talk about Black youth is definitely not the easiest thing in the world, especially talking about, you know, Global South and how the Global South needs to be involved into this wider discussion initiative. So so this is the event that we're bringing about, and obviously in the next for 2021, we're trying to also set the positive tone for 2021 in a hopeful way, but also in very cutting edge and transformative ways. So we are working with Steve on different programs for young Black entrepreneurs, but also in thinking about creating this fund for racial equity that extends not just, you know, it's not limited just to North America, but it extends to the rest of the world. So thank you.
Thanks, thank you. And just moving to Elaine and ITSMF. So ITSMF, and I can see a couple of people on there, like Robert Peterkins. Hi, good to see you. Lydia, who you know, Lydia and I have a great story to share about how to sponsor someone to get them in an organization, how much work it still takes, even though we claim that we want Black talent. It's not that easy when you get into the mix, right? So, but But what's really great about ITSMF for me is that, you know, there's things that you go through your career and you don't realize are missing because you just learn to accept them. And going to ITSMF symposium was the first time I was ever not the minority.
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
the first time as in a Black professional setting that I was not the minority. I was not the only. We were all the same.
Right.
And that was really uplifting and encouraging for me as a Black professional. And I actually never realized that I needed it until I actually went to ITSMF and experienced it.
Right.
So it's a really great organization. And I'd love you to just talk a little bit about the last symposium you had, which was amazing.
Yes.
Especially the networking and the dancing. But that aside, there was some really great content. There's some really great content too.
Right.
So I'd love you to talk about that and what's next for ITSMF.
Sure. Stephen, you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that going to an ITSMF symposium for the first time. Everyone who attends one of our symposiums says the same thing, especially our in-person symposiums. In fact, I was moved to tears as a senior level, C-level executive when I first attended an ITSMF symposium, because you're right. I had, for the first time in my career, an opportunity to attend an event of that magnitude and actually forget my Blackness, if I can say that. In other words, I went to this professional event where everyone in the room, embraced, affirmed. We spoke the same kind of language, and I wasn't having to carry the weight of my people on my shoulders with every move that I made, every word that I spoke, the way I looked, the way I dressed. We all know that feeling of having to represent all of us with every move and everything you do. And for the first time in my professional career, was at that ITSMF symposium, and to experience so many Black professionals at the top of their game, but so vested in the support and success of one another. And we do things so differently and authentically at an ITSMF symposium. You're going to get a hug, you're going to get a smile, you're going to get, the nods up when you pass by. You're going to get embraced in so many different ways, both physically and spiritually and just soulfully, but all still done in a professional environment, and all about the business of engaging about technology, engaging about leadership and executive development, and engaging about community service and support. At ITSMF, our programs and services are designed to support our members' mind, body, and soul. And we provide ample opportunities for these senior level executives to reach as they are climbing. And so you don't wait until you've arrived. You have plenty of opportunities, and we encourage mentorship, sponsorship. What are the folks saying when you're not in the room? Are you a sponsor for an individual? We support also giving back to community, both monetarily and in service. And one of the ways that we do that very successfully is, I see Phoenicia and I remember you. Thanks. But our Global Institute for Professional Development, where we have 3 academies that are developed and robust. And in fact, we typically have waiting lists, but don't let that deter you. But these academies are there to provide training and further rounding of our executives, whether you are C-level executives or 1 to 2, 3 levels away from the C-suite. We've got a particular program for our women of color executives to address those unique challenges and opportunities that our women of color executives face. And I don't want anyone to be confused in that, okay, you've got this niche that are executives. Well, what about if you're not an executive? We also have programs and services where the mentorship is to reach, and we make connections with several of my colleagues here on the panel, where we are very supportive, and we have made both strategic alliance partnerships and what we call loose partnerships, where our networks extend and reach out and connect with one another. In terms of the symposium, Stephen, that you're talking about, so obviously for the pandemic, we had to pivot very quickly to a virtual format, but we wanted to, as closely as possible, emulate the feeling that you get when you attend an ITSMF symposium in person. And so we did a combination of having folks in studio, in production studio, broadcasting there, along with folks who were being interviewed virtually. We wanted everyone to be safe and to stay healthy, but we wanted to emulate as much as possible that ITSMF secret sauce that everybody knows when you come to an ITSMF symposium. And so we were very successful in doing that. And if I might say, if there's any kind of bright side to this horrific, time that we're in, is that going virtually allowed us to reach and touch well beyond our in-person symposiums. And so we were able to reach out to folks like Naisha and Letty, your co-founder, reach out to others who might not by travel be able to have attended. So we were able to reach out internationally. We had other groups over in Ghana, Africa, who joined us, folks in the UK, folks in Germany, folks in China who actually had an opportunity to join. And so this has been a growth for ITSMF, and we look forward to it. And then Stephen, we keep it authentic and real at ITSMF, to your point. We had a DJ and a dance opportunity because we always, again, we want to feed mind, body, and soul. And so we're just looking forward to much more happening, especially in 2021. We expect that at least the first half of 2021 will also be virtually. So look forward to our upcoming 25th year symposium celebration. And so we're going to celebrate starting actually at the very end of 2020, but that will carry us into 2021, where we'll celebrate and reach out to even more. And I just want to just add one more thing. Dina, I'm like you give me the mic, I'll keep on talking. So, apologies up front. But I just wanted to share that it is so, the spotlight, I think it was Matthew who said this, the spotlight is on us like never before. This is the opportunity, and I don't care who you are, whether you are Black professional, whether you are a student, whether you are a young professional, whether you're an ally, you have an opportunity to make an impact and change this world. This ridiculous 6% statistic that has been pervasive in terms of the numbers of Blacks in technology is ridiculous. There is Black talent. We see it every day, all day, every day. And I'm going to venture to say this, when you have reached a certain level in your tech career, trust me, you are more than qualified to be there. Black people get talented, hired based on their experience and what they've done before. And we know that that's not the case for our counterparts. Our counterparts get hired based on their potential. So once you have gotten to a certain level as a Black executive or leader, you are well qualified. And now we need to extend this to our younger professionals, those entering the workplace, the youth, Dina, the work that you're doing, Naisha, the work that you guys are doing, Matthew, the work that you guys are doing. You are preparing our youth, and we want to be a base for our youth to be able to come to and say, how does it feel to be there? Is the air truly thinner? Yes, it is, but here's how you can breathe through it. And so that's what ITSMF is about, and I'll pause there.
Well said. So we have. I'm going to end with allowing the four panelists to leave a message for CEOs, right? But before we do that, I wanted to open up for any questions from the audience. It's okay. I don't know if we can control that, but.
I have a comment to Elaine. Elaine, I learned about ITSMF years ago through BDPA. Mm-hmm. When I started going to their conferences back in the early 2000s, and I love BDPA. Yeah. I don't know if you remember Wayne Hicks. Do you?
Absolutely.
Oh, that was my buddy.
Yes. And we are strategic alliance partners with BDPA. In fact, we're in conversations with them almost every other week. We provide speakers for their engagement. We see them also as a pipeline for talent. And so we consider them also a sister organization. And I also want to say there's some other organizations out there that we are in line with. So Dean, I'm so glad you brought this up. First of all, I've been following you for a long time.
You have?
Yes, you have been in the fight for a long time. So you'll see me ping every once in a while on LinkedIn, but you have been on the battlefield for a long time, and you are to be applauded for the work that, because it is not easy. It is not easy. And you're right, to get funding as a Black woman in the work and talking about Black youth, not easy, not easy.
It's not easy.
It is not
what would really just disgust me is when I would go out begging for money to have an event, and you would see a dog show in town that was making millions, right? A dog show, and I couldn't get the funding to have an event for these Black youth.
Yes.
Right? We did it anyway, but I'm just like, this is crazy.
You are 100% right. And, you know, we are just so pleased that we are knocking on doors like you to get corporate sponsorship. Our corporate partners are very important, not only just in terms of the dollars, but also the network and connection, getting the word out, and actually embracing diversity and inclusion. And so to your point, the connection between all of us as organizations, and I started to talk about not only BDPA, but the NSBEs of the world, the Empowers, the Inroads, organizations that are taking from, you know, student Black Girls Code, from students all the way up. It is critically important. And this pipeline is, the spotlight is on us now more than ever today.
Oh, yeah.
On our website, we've taken the liberty of posting. I think we've got 20 organizations that are all firms that are in some shape or form trying to help with the Black talent partnership with corporate. So if you want to see more, they're all on the website, and you can get links to their websites. And if you need help with intros, we can help with some of that too.
Wonderful.
But there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Well, you know, I also want to say another thing. Okay, I got the mic back real quick. So one of the things that I want to applaud Stephen for is using his platform to help sponsor us, right? But the thing is, we don't realize the power that we do have, right? So you might have that person that feels like they can't connect anybody, they don't have any power. Everybody has power, right? It's how you use it. It only takes you a moment to sponsor someone within your organization. That was what was challenging for me as well, is that I had people that look like me in organizations that were afraid to sponsor me because they thought it would make them look too Black, right? That they were supporting Black when they need to assimilate to white. So we have to understand there's some growing that we as a community have to do as well, you know, and how do we realize the power that we each one of us actually possesses.
I've seen a couple of people come off the mute. Like, it looks like Mr. Peterkins had something to say.
My good buddy. So yeah, to what Elaine is saying, first of all, I'm working really hard on planning the ITSMF forum for 2021. I'm working on something called the Men's Forum, where I'll be quick with this, but we're working on, you know, IT issues, but we're looking at it more from a personal side, because people are going through stuff with things like divorce and what's happened with COVID, with depression. And you have to realize that that's all tied to your ability to succeed you know, in corporate America. But real quick, my question, and I think I'm starting to be answered, but where do you feel you need help, right? If I were to ask you guys, and Elaine, I'll take you out of it because you and I talk all the time. What's the number one thing where you feel you need help? And I say that as someone who grew up in the projects and now work in corporate America, but also a lot of people will say they grew up in the projects and now they're here. Well, I still go back, right? So I still go back to Brooklyn, so I can see the whole lineage from people that are, you know, kind of their environments are challenging, all the way up to, you know, multi-millionaire executives. But I guess my question, in looking at the screen, I see this great momentum on the screen. I'm conscious that the call will end, that we'll all go our separate ways. So my question is, where's the one thing with your organizations where you feel you need help? You guys each can take it, or one of you can take it, I'm fine.
I'll answer, and I'll say it. I've always said this. I need more help with more Black male mentors within my program.
We can do that. That's an easy one.
I need more Black and Latinx men.
You realize you're talking to the only bank that can the bank that competes with us the most in Mr. Peterkin. So it's a really serious network you've got. If he follows up, and I'd love him to.
I say that because I could see the images of our boys on that STEMoween session when they were listening to Stephen, right? They were listening to Stephen and they were just interested. They were mesmerized. When we have our events, especially our summits, where I try to reach out and try to get Black men and Latino men there to be our team leads, it's like pulling teeth. I will get a lot of white people volunteer, but I don't get the people that look like these kids that need to be there, that these kids are longing to be around, right? Except for when I launched in Los Angeles and I walked into the room and I saw about 40 Black men waiting. And Stephen knows I'm a big wimp. I'll cry at the drop of a dime. I
don't think I've been to a call where you haven't cried, so I'm impressed.
I cried when I saw them there because you guys don't realize the impact that you can make in a youth, with a youth. So that's why for me, yeah, we need funding, but more so I need those Black male mentors to match up with our students.
I just want to jump in and say that, Dina, then you have to definitely come to the 2-day event that we're doing, because we're going to exactly have that. We're going to have some of the most leading, fantastic, not just young Black entrepreneurs and innovators, but also some of the Black leaders who are older, who no longer, they're U++, right? So really putting them in conversation, like an intergenerational conversation as well, an intersectoral conversation. We'll have, for example, Member of Parliament David Lammy from the UK, who is going to be in discussion with one of the most fantastic environmental entrepreneur from Kenya. We're going to have this fantastic leader from South Sudan in conversation with Ashley Membe, who I don't know if you know him, but Cameroonian philosopher and political theorist. We're going to have, Rehma Kasule from Uganda. I mean, so we're going to have so many different and interesting, this like intergenerational and representative, right, discussions from across the world, so not just from the same region. So I would say sorry. Yes, please, and bring all your youth, because we want these youth to be connected to the rest of the world. But we saw, for example, the power when we're just within even Brazil, when we connected young people from the south of Brazil to the north of Brazil, and they were like, wow, this is so fun. There are other people like us who are doing fantastic work as well. And when we started doing this even within the region in Latin America, and we realized, okay, we need to think globally, right? So the power of just bringing all the, I would cry too. Like just thinking about it makes me cry. So I think that day I'm definitely going to cry. So it's going to be like 2 days of powerful people coming together from around the world. And then not just thinking in this regional silos, but like completely across the world. Like we're going to have Black New Zealanders, Black Australians, we even going to have Black Iranians, right? And Black Turkish Turks who nobody ever talks about them. So it's really, we invite like all of you to really connect and come together. So to your question, Robert, we need all kinds of resources and help, because we need to really amplify the work that these young people are doing. So we no longer think about the 6% or the 1%, in many cases, or the 0.01%, right? And we're going to especially have 2 panels that's going to focus just on women. So one woman, young woman, Black entrepreneurs, another one who's going to be like female-led Black technology. So it's really focusing on these young Black women as well. So please connect, bring, for example, the power of just having this convening with us here and what we're discussing just really makes my day, right? And it kind of amplifies my network and reach.
Nisha,
so, yes.
Nisha, you hit me with a stat that you have to share with everyone. Of the VC money that goes to in Africa, how much of it goes to what percentage of it goes to Black entrepreneurs?
So less than 1% to Black founders, and in Kenya alone, less than 6% in 2019 went to Black founders. So the rest of them went to white-owned businesses. So that's a number that we don't want to see anymore. We have to address, and this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to redirect that investment and those capital that go to these Black founders. So anyways, I'll leave it right there to give it the opportunity to my colleagues.
So we're coming on time. So I'm going to give everyone 1 minute to leave with a parting message for CEOs in corporates. And I'll stay with you, Nisha, as the first person.
Start with, okay, so sorry, there's a phone in the background. I would just say, sorry, can you start with somebody else because there's a noise in the background?
Let's go to Dina.
Wait, what was the question?
So one minute message to CEOs in corporate America.
CEOs in corporate America is educate yourselves on creating community and creating opportunities for all. Understand and do more lifelong learning around systemic racism, you know, around equitable hiring systems. How do you decenter whiteness, you know, with your whole recruiting practices? And how do you embed equity in every touch point of your organization, every fabric of your organization, so that you don't need a diversity officer because your company is so embedded with equity that you wouldn't need one?
Matthew.
As I said at the start, I like to keep things very simple. I think there's a lot of folks today that are looking for direction on how can I help, what can I do, where can I get engaged, et cetera, et cetera. I kind of look at three different main things that we need to achieve to help move Black professionals, Black businesses, Black entrepreneurs forward. And kind of, I think it captures everything that we've been talking about today relatively well. I don't look at a North Star, I look at a North constellation. And those three things, those three stars that make up the constellation for me are access to community, access to funding, and access to skills and knowledge. And if you're looking to support the Black community, if any activity that you're taking part in is contributing to one of those three main metrics, you're trending in the right direction, right? So again, access to community, access to funding, and access to skills and development. And supporting individuals with one or all three of those is going to help move the conversation, help the initiative move in the right direction. So that's kind of my...
Awesome. Over to you, Elaine. Thank you so much.
Just quickly, to the CEOs, be bold and authentic in your leadership. Do the right thing. You know what the right thing is. And so there are plenty of opportunities to partner with Black talent, and organizations like the ones represented here can guide you, will guide you in a very kind and loving way to it. No judgment, but it is available, and we are here to support, and we would love for you to be our ally.
Awesome. And then Niusha.
Thank you, Stephen. Sorry about earlier. I would say, so my message to CEOs, I would just say that they're beyond just social corporate responsibility, beyond just doing the right thing, is the opportunity that they're missing and investing into young Black talent, right? They would get a return, or the return on investment would be so much higher, not just in monetary value, but to address our global issues or global concerns. We're completely missing out. It's a missed opportunity. So I would just say, you know, be our ally, work with us, work with the people who have the expertise, because they obviously do not have the expertise, and help us guide you in to the right, you know, to the pool of young Black talents on a global scale.
And on that note, I'd just like to thank the four speakers for taking the time to share with us, and for all of you who've taken time out your day to hear. You know, I think this is a really important topic, one that I'm not going to let go, and we're going to keep pushing forward, because there's a lot to still unravel, discuss, educate ourselves on. But you know, this was a start, so I hope you all leave with some action that you're going to take on the back of this call today. And even if it's one person, it starts with just one person. So thank you all. Have great days, evenings, nights. Thank you.
About our next session coming up in February.
Right. Yes. Do you want to quickly cover that?
You can.
So the next session, we're gonna give everyone a Christmas holiday hiatus, and we'll be back in February. In the February session, we're gonna pick up obviously in Black History Month, and we're gonna kick it off with some deep stories on the real history going back hundreds of years, starting with me unraveling my own DNA and figuring out where I originally came from.
It's going to be Thursday, February 18th, everybody. So mark your calendars.
Got it.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Wonderful. Thank
Be
you.
safe.
Thank
Well.
you.